So there was this interview with Bob. I think it was from 1980. It was either 1984, 5, 6, something like that. It was, I'm pretty sure, an ABC interview. But it was, they were outside in the sun and stuff, and they were talking, and I'll link the video, if it's still on YouTube, in the description. But it was an amazing interview, and like, it's a must-see interview for any Bob Dylan fan, because there were some really interesting things said in this interview, and one of them had to do with, they got into talking about how Bob is considered to be like a prophet, I think is the word that was used. So they went down that road, you know, of like prophecy and stuff, and basically like asked Bob Dylan, like, do you think that this is all gonna end? Which is a huge statement, a question, and it was like pretty deep for, you know, ABC or whoever was doing it. So, because I was just thinking about, like, me personally, like, in my life, having, you know, witnessed, which, I mean, you know, the calendar is, the Gregorian calendar is like a bunch of made up BS anyways, pretty much. You know, so I'm not saying there's like a massive amount of significance to dates and years and stuff. But I was thinking, you know, it's interesting that I have seen the turn of a millennium, right? Like, that's, wow, like, that's kind of, you know, because there was like 1,000 years during which, you know, the year started with like a 1, and now it starts with a 2. You know what I mean? So I was just thinking deep about that. But so this interview, right? They ask him, like, do you think that this is all going to come to an end? And he pretty much said that, like, yes, this is gonna end. And the question of like when was raised, you know, and Bob basically said that there's writings or literature, some type of, you know, ancient like texts or calendars or something that say that, you know, the world will end basically pretty soon, you know what I mean? And I don't know exactly what he's referencing, you know, but when they put a time on it in this interview, he was like, I think he said a couple 100 years, which I was floored when I heard that. I was floored when I heard that, because I have been saying that for like a really long time at this point, and I've never heard somebody else like say that, like give it like a ballpark of basically. And that is supposed to happen in, to what I understand, the 2180s, right? So it's a pretty long time from now for us. And this subject gets me going hard on something I was saying in another recording about, you know, the lost continents of Earth ages past, like Atlantis, you know, that whole story. And it's like Atlantis and all of that. It is sort of popularized these days by like the fruity woo-woo, like fruitcake, hippie, like people or whatever, but it's actually true. I mean, you know, I don't know if it was called Atlantis, but a continent like that existed. We had advanced civilizations in Earth's history that disappeared because of widespread destruction or localized destruction. So it always makes me think, like, consider this, you know, Plato, for example, has been known of for like, what is it, like 1400 years, or how long has it been that we've known about Plato? I don't even know, okay? It's been like a freaking long ass time. And there's other examples of super longevity in historical figures that we know about, right? Shakespeare, these types of people, and it's almost like Bob came at the end of an age. He came at the end of an age, and I think because of extenuating circumstances, like I think because of the date that the Earth has with destruction, you know, well, the Earth will still exist, but like life on it will totally be wiped out. And in a couple like million years or whatever, it'll be totally fine for life to live on it again. But I digress. So, you know, Bob Dylan, his body of work, his legend, is probably like not going to have the longevity of Plato or Shakespeare or any of those other people, because, you know, because they went on for like hundreds of years. These people have been like known